This is a review of GrimithR's commentary of Expeditions Conquistador. I believe the commentator did a pretty good job of telling the viewers what this game is about, so I'll just let you hear his take on the matter first.
This is a strategic game. It's also a tactical game, which involves tactical turn-based combat, harkening back to maybe Heroes of Might and Magic, King's Bounty. Maybe not so much the older one as like the newer King's Bounty. And since I'm such a fan of the strategic and tactical mindset, I wanted to apply it. Besides, this covers like a historical era that's not talked about much in entertainment media. For good reason. We're going to be playing as a conquistador who has set off from Spain.
The makers of the game describe the game as a tactical role-playing game with a touch of strategic resource management and a pinch of choose-your-own adventure. And since there seems to be a lot of incorrect interpretations of strategy and tactics, I'll elaborate that according to the United States Department of Defense Dictionary of Military and Associated Terms, tactics means the employment and ordered arrangement of forces in relation to each other, while strategy in short means the overall campaign plan. GrimithR seems to use the word strategic in battles, which at least according to that definition is incorrect. The series achieves the baseline requirements of having a decent microphone and no audio or video issues, but in the very early episodes, the music volume is too high, but the commentator picks up on that himself and fixes it. Even though the music volume is now good, it doesn't play all the time, and when there's a pause in the commentary when out of combat, it's pretty quiet. So perhaps the ambient volume should have been higher, just a thought. Fortunately, the commentator talks relatively much, so it's not a big issue. The commentator plays the game on a custom difficulty, which is mostly normal settings, but the enemy intelligence is set to maximum. The help text and skill descriptions in the beginning, as well as much of the text in the game in general, is read with great accuracy, but even the commentator places a limit when he finds that all the characters have texts about their backgrounds. I'd like to say at this point that I played the game myself and watched another commentator play it also, and from my own reading I deduced that it was a good decision from the commentator to not read them, not necessarily because they were bad or anything, but because it would be too difficult to remember the backstory of 10 or more NPCs, even if you were going for a role-playing style of commentary. The commentator tries to be intelligent about party configuration, even though the game is blind, which is a good sign for a tactical game.
I don't think I'll exactly want to go a peaceful direction here if I'm going to be aggressive. I want to pick someone who's fairly compatible here.
I understood that he read the manual several times before playing, so that probably explains it somewhat. The commentator doesn't speak during the cutscenes, which I approve of. Here's a quick clip about the commentator starting to go through what everything in the interface means.
When we're outside of a city, our moves left will actually deplete. Not that many days have passed, in fact all of 0 have passed, and that's our current rations. Now, we click on this, that's our main menu there. Here opens up our inventory with our starting items where we have...
I always like to iterate this, but telling what the controls are, especially in these more complex games, is important because not all of your viewers will have played the game themselves, and that gives at least an idea of how the game is played. At this point, I'd like to say that I really enjoy GrimithR's voice. It's clear and deliberate, and that deep voice is simply pleasant to hear. The commentator also gives voices to the NPCs.
De Rossi trundles across the battlefield. Trundles? Good word. To meet you. Now that, not so much. Wiping the sweat off his forehead. Well fought! You are quite the tactician. Well done indeed. Your people are free to join up with you if they wish. I have no qualms about letting you take them, and you can tell the governor I said so. I hope this is not the last time we'll see of each other, young man. No.
That's something I would at the very least have expected from a skilled role player like Grimith. I have to say I didn't especially like the Santo Domingo's governor's voice though.
I suggest you catch them by surprise and cut them down first. There'll be plenty of time to find out what they've been up to later.
Here's also some role-playing of his own character.
Well, my character is the son of a minor noble. I'm sure he's used to this kind of shit. So, my troops and I are at your service, Governor. Naturally, I'm going to take her hand and kiss it, because why not be insulting to her? I mean, we're not even in the 1500s. We need to be derogatory in some form or fashion, and not treat her as an equal. This is where we need to bring the obviously Catholic background of the Conquistador and the expedition into mind here. Would it be alright to commingle with a native? What does that even mean? If I commingle with the natives, if I go back home, would I still be considered as an honorable and virtuous Spanish young male? All of these important because that's what they all considered, right everyone?
However, there's less of it as the game progresses. I feel like the commentary could have benefited from telling us more often what are the reasons for selecting a dialogue option in favor of another. The commentator actually takes time to learn how to pronounce things he encounters.
Tano, things I need to look up before the next video. Yes, I actually care enough to do that.
There is some humor thrown into the commentary also.
I will take my people into the mountains and search for your wife, and then you will help me overthrow this governor, and together we can rule. Wait, what? I'm pretty bad for your health. You should consult your doctor before use. Carlos chuckles. Thank you. Look into my black, soulless eyes now. Him too? AI might avoid attacks of opportunity, but it does not avoid that. I think this is my new favorite throwable.
In battles, the commentator analyzes his opponents and approaches situations cautiously. He also actually uses the preparation phase, unlike the other commentator I watched play this game.
Okay, we charge this, but before we charge, we make sure that we're not going to get fucked up with traps. Uh-huh. What do you know? We're gonna take out this guy first, because he's isolated from the others. Ooh, no. Alright. Have you finished off the warrior? He has 3 endurance. I'm gonna go after the sure kill here.
The commentator explores the maps fully, since this is a partly exploration game, something which reminded me of Star Control 2. I think this fits. Also, I'm a completionist, but your mileage may vary. There is an option to disable the tutorial, which the commentator never did, so it was there on the side the whole time. Not a big deal, but a deal nevertheless. Mostly the commentary style is describing what the commentator is doing. I've recently reflected upon what types of commentary I like, and indeed I found that in a game that is complex enough and not too repetitive, it's better to focus on the game and try to be funny in the process of it, rather than try to be funny and on the background perhaps play the game a little bit. Overreacting does not generally make a good commentary, except perhaps in campaign games and games where the point is to have strong emotions. This might be one reason why I don't follow any of the really big commentators. I feel that the purpose of commentary is not trying to reinvent Monty Python's flying circus, since that really diverts attention from the game, though this guideline really depends on the type of game being played more than anything. There's some good variety in the commentary, which is important, seeing how long this series is, and GrimithR has many almost like catchphrases.
No take-backs easy on this mode. The most desirable outcome. Maybe I can entice them with prizes? Go for the opening! It's the only way through! Rita, you're supposed to hang in there, damn it. That was the antithesis of hanging in there. Got a lot of rope. Now we can hang ourselves. Good. I got prizes for you. Now we're gonna get the treasure. Because it's ours to have and hold and huggle for the rest of our days till death do us part. Pedro, you can stand behind here and look pretty. How about that? You wanna look pretty, Pedro? You know you do. Interrupt.
Catchphrases is something I feel can make commentary even more memorable, but they shouldn't feel forced. So they aren't necessary for a good commentary, but can work when properly used. GrimithR uses them sparingly, which is why they work for him. A few of the terrorists' winning jokes were a bit too random for me though. Also, the Tino, the biggest little city in the New World, wasn't funny enough to be used that many times. Of course, I might just not get the humor because I don't live in the United States, where apparently there's a city with a slogan similar to that. Since this is a blind commentary, there are pretty much bound to be moments of failure. Even though they are few, it might just make them feel all the more sweet since the commentator actually feels competent for a blind playthrough.
I'm just gonna juggle around a bunch of near-dead people. Oh, man. So it's not as if extra reinforcements were coming to the fight! No, this was just an arbitrary time limit. With you failing to meet the arbitrary time limit being, oh, you got your ass kicked. And then they go after your servants and kick their asses too. No at least reason of being mobbed by scores of Eagle Warriors? No, you just lose. Have fun with losing. This is your loss.
Keep in mind that I might be a bit biased because I've seen this game twice already, but in battles the commentary felt lacking when it sometimes devolved into simple vulgar sentences, or it was otherwise unimaginative. I'd say that this was probably the biggest stumbling block for this series. I know it's important to describe what you're doing and what's happening in a tactical game, but in the long run it's going to get a bit dull. I like bringing this example up, but Invisible Gunslinger #1's playthrough of I Wanna Be the Boshi is an excellent example of how to make even the dullest and the most repetitive games entertaining. And even though that is an extreme example, it would really benefit if there was more variety in the battle commentary after perhaps 15 episodes when the mechanics have been pretty thoroughly explored. There are times when the commentator sounds uninterested, like when he's about to fight a battle he suspects will not reward experience. Uninterested commentator leads to uninteresting commentary, and so the rule about the boring parts I mentioned should also be followed here. Take your mind off the game and talk about something else entirely. Another gripe of mine with this commentary is that in a game set in a historical setting, even though there are supernatural elements, so it's not really accurate, I'd expect more historical facts in the commentary. Maybe this is a bit much to ask, but at least I have something concrete to say how this series could have been better. Finally, it's time to give a score for this series. I just want to say I don't wish for anybody to choose what to watch solely based on my scores, since they don't even represent how much I liked the series, but it's more of a summary of a review in which it's difficult to incorporate the subconscious criteria, even though reviewing is about trying to pull those subconscious thoughts to the surface. Try to feel if this is the game for you and the commentator for you. That's how I choose what to watch. With that out of the way, even though I've given a lot of criticism, those are mostly just minor annoyances, and I am more lenient with blind playthroughs. I'm going to give this series 8 out of 10 out of battle and 7 out of 10 in battle.